Hello, in this video we will be discussing predicting and writing test questions. So, how do you go about predicting test questions? In other words, how do you select what you should focus on and study, and how are you going to write out those questions? First, you need to think about what information is being repeated. If information is showing up in your textbook, your readings, classroom discussions, and lectures, it is probably important. Look at diagrams also. Think about what kinds of diagrams are presented. These visual expressions of information help you process relationships and bits of information. If you're trying to really understand a concept, diagrams are a great way to do so. What kinds of questions are asked in class? This can also give you a key indication about what to focus on, as this tends to be a time when the instructor is trying to gauge whether or not the class is understanding the material. You also want to think about how much time was spent on a topic in relation to other topics. So, if you spend a lot more time on one topic versus the other five, that one topic is probably not only more difficult, but possibly a little more important than the others. What was included on quizzes or assignments? Again, lots of times instructors are going to give low stakes assessments in order to figure out if they need to provide extra explanation of a concept. This also gives you the opportunity to practice the material before you have to take an exam where it counts for a little bit higher portion of your grade. So, once you figure out what to study, you then need to pay attention to the level at which you are studying. The reason this is important is because the level at which you study determines the level at which you perform. So, what we have here is a graphic of what's called Bloom's taxonomy. On the channel, we have a video that goes in depth about what Bloom's taxonomy is and how to utilize it for study strategies, which will be linked down below. As you can see, there are different categories. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Students tend to make the mistake of only studying to understand and remember. They understand definitions and think of things in one-to-one correlations. While these are useful, studying only at these two levels will not help you on your exam when the professor asks you to evaluate or explain a concept. So, what kind of verbs might you use then? You can look up online what kinds of words or what kinds of ways you can think about information so that you're studying at the right kinds of levels. Do you need to be able to predict something? Do you need to be able to draw a correlation between something? Do you need to defend something or explain or match different kinds of categories? An example of a possible test question could be patient A walks in with XYZ symptoms. What is your best course of action? And you're going to need to know all of the implications XYZ symptoms has for that patient and then draw out the best course of action. In other words, there are lots of things that you need to be processing in the background that the professor may or may not put in the seat of the question because they expect you to be thinking at these higher levels. The other thing you really want to do is make sure all your information is correct. Comparing your notes from class to the text helps to ensure you didn't copy any notes down wrong. Another good idea is to always compare your notes to a peer's. This helps you see if you missed anything or if there is anything that you may have zoned out on that your peer caught. And finally, work with a tutor at the Academic Resource Center. A tutor can give you not only an indicator about whether or not you are able to really master and understand the material, but they can also help you with both targeting the right kinds of information and also whether or not you're studying at the right kinds of levels. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.